I know everybody has been wondering what happened to the build videos. Simply put, all of my free time has gone into using this thing this summer.
We need to move that up at all?
And now that I have loads of trips under my belt and I've gone out and tested this thing, I'm finally starting to get some free time to edit all of these videos. Between trips, we've been going to the Overland Expos, and something I'm frequently asked is why did I go with Alucab? In this video, I'll be covering that, the installation, and also upgrading this thing and getting it ready for the road. But as always, I am way behind on these video projects, so let's rewind and go back to the start of this. Today, I'm finally down here in New Mexico, and I'm at Tactical Application Vehicles here in Albuquerque. I've been waiting so long to come down here and bring a truck to them to have some work done. The Alucab campers are something that I've had my eye on since they first made their way stateside. There are plenty of other options on the market, some much cheaper, some much lighter, and some much more roomy. It's no secret that I've been a huge fan of my Alucab Gen 3 tent ever since I bought it. And yes, I paid full price for this tent, and no, Alucab did not pay me to promote it at any point in time. Over the last several years, I've made good friends with the team at Tactical Application Vehicles. TAV has built trucks that are traveling all around the world, and I have spent hours staring at some of their creations, and I've always been nothing but impressed. By the time the camper was delivered and ready for installation, Bowen Customs was done developing and building the bed. I did a whole different video on this custom bed. I'll leave a link below for those that are interested. TAV was one of the earliest adopters of the Alucab brand in the United States. These guys have worked with Bowen beds before, so they were the right ones to install this camper on the back of my truck. They are all about fine-tuning and modifying a truck to the owner's particular needs. And the team had a ton of ideas and suggestions that hadn't even crossed my mind. Just running cameras and watching these guys do all the heavy lifting was actually a nice change of pace, because normally I'm doing all this stuff on my own. There are plenty of DIY installs ahead of me, but we'll get into that shortly. I'm fully aware that I'm being quite a fanboy about this shop. And that's because every time I have a conversation with the owner of TAV, Walt Wagner, I am blown away by the knowledge and experience of this guy.
There's no format anywhere in here that takes all of these different companies that don't build stuff to work right together. I mean, it is built to work right together, but they make a product. But then it's up to a builder to make sure that product works with this product and everything in between works right together, and how you can manipulate that product to work right with the rest of them. So it's like a science project.
Okay, so what is my obsession with Alucab? First, there are plenty of solid products from other manufacturers. They all have their pros and cons, but I was spending a fortune on this project and I was scared to make the wrong choice. I've owned my FJ Cruiser for over 15 years now, and 5 or 6 of those years with the Alucab Gen 3 tent. I've camped on the windy beaches of Baja, I've camped on windy peaks in Colorado mountains, I've camped in rain, snow, and the swampy summer heat in Arkansas. I've pushed it through low-hanging branches, and I have literally leaned it against a tree. No dents, no repairs, no problems. Wind ramps over the top, rain pours off the sides, and it just feels more like a tiny cabin than a tent. So while there are many competing products on the market, Alucab is the only one that I have personal trust in. So when it came time for a new vehicle, Alucab was the answer for me. Alucab did give me a discount on this camper, but for what it's worth, even with the discount, the Alucab cost me more than other options would have that are on the market. It simply came down to personal preference. It's fun for me to be here because I'm in charge of a shop for a fleet of trucks, and they're doing a very different thing. But it's fun to be in here and observe their attention to detail, because normally that's my job, is to go around and see what the techs are up to and answer any questions. And I completely trust their judgment on all of this, how they're bolting everything down, how they're sealing stuff up, 100%. They've done so many of these kinds of builds. I've been hustling to make this happen over the last couple of years. Pretty much everything I've made from YouTube has gone into this project. And my goal now is to build an adventure truck that's also small enough to where I can take it on trails, but I can get out of the elements, and it can have a little extra space to where it'll support what I'm trying to do with some of the film work that I'm doing. So anyway, I'm gonna get back into the shop and see what these guys got going on, and I can't wait to drive this thing.
With the Alucab installation almost completed, the Wagner brothers will give it one last inspection to make sure everything's tight, everything's sealed, and everything is ready for its drive home. I even had the privilege to go out and get into the rocks with the Ranger Goat Tacoma. While the Trail Hunter can't hold a candle to this thing's long travel, it's actually handling surprisingly well for having a camper freshly installed on the back. This video is brought to you by Onyx Off-Road. There have been a ton of wildfires across the country this year, and I've been using Onyx to find where they're at and avoid the fires and avoid the smoke. With the wildfire layer active, you can see the acreage and the level of containment. And with the separate wildfire smoke layer, I can avoid planning a trip in an area that's going to have terrible air quality. A feature like this is a huge asset when traveling in the West.
Today, I'm diving into modifications on the Alucab Modcap camper. The only thing unique here is my bed. Everything else is exactly the same. This same camper could get pulled off and put onto a Tacoma. So the modifications I'm doing here are no different than what you could do with an Alucab Modcap. I've got Red Arc electronics to go into this in the next couple weeks, which is gonna be it's gonna be a ton of work doing that. But also I've got an Expion 360 big boy battery. This is 162 amp hours. This truck's gonna have lights under the awning. It's got 5 of these lights built into it from National Luna. So with all of my power demands, I really needed to reconsider what I was gonna be putting into this. So I think this 162 is gonna be great. So the reason I'm installing some of this stuff in tactical application vehicles did not do it for me is because I am a DIY guy. I wanted to see how a lot of this stuff goes together, because if I ever need to fix a lot of it. And it's honestly pretty modular. It's like a big Lego set. There's tons of T-track everywhere. So even for my Molly panels that are gonna go in, it just goes in the T-track. This whole thing is designed to be very, very modular. I'm gonna be using the GP Factor propane mount with the Molly panel kit. And I've talked to AJ about these for several years. AJ's the guy over at GP Factor. And something he did is he made a design to where when you unload your propane, it comes down like that, so you're not having to lift directly out, and it's just kind of more of a pull out, so then you just grab your tank and remove it like that. They're building a lot of cool stuff. They're the ones that are responsible for the propane fireplace kits that you can get for these things. They're responsible for Max Trax mounts, all sorts of stuff, and they're doing a lot of Ineos Grenadier stuff now. I went through and I chopped this thing up. I got it pretty straight, I think. It comes out a little bit down here, but that's all right. I can touch it up later. So the reason I did this is because with the 35, when you open the door, it needs to clear right here. And it's really close, but you need like a ½ inch, maybe an inch. So I had a little bit of edge trim that was in the box from all my leftover stuff from the installation. So I just went ahead and used that right there. I think it looks pretty nice. So the downside of having an aluminum bed and an aluminum camper is in the winter months, you will just have cold seeping in. So for those types of instances, I want to insulate this. And then on the colder trips, and if I'm just storing the truck and I've got a little bit of water in here, I wanna have to worry about it less. And I also want my Dickinson heater to work better when I need it. In such a small space, I wanted something that was very thin. And I also wanted something that had a high R value. And I want to get something that was cheap and easy to replace in the future. I didn't want to stick a bunch of stuff on that was going to leave a bunch of residue. I want to just use like 3M tape, which is simple. And especially right here, the water tank is actually going to just hold pressure against that. Perfect. I've got my fireplace that I need to put in. Part of the reason I like the idea of this heater, one, it's simple. You don't have to even have electricity with this. In the event that I have no electricity for some reason in the vehicle, I still have heat, and I like the idea of that, especially living in Colorado. So if my house battery has an issue, didn't charge, whatever the case is, this thing will put off heat without the fan moving in it, but it does have a small fan to circulate heat. So the other thing is that this is one big hole that I put up here. The advantage of that is that it's high up. With a diesel heater, I would have had to probably, most likely the way it would have gotten installed, is in one of the cabinets, and that puts a bunch of big holes into my bed. It takes up some of my cabinet space, and that's permanent, of course. And then I would have to deal with another fuel system. I could have done gasoline. I went back and forth on that. I just decided I didn't want to do that. And so for me, the few trips that I do in the super cold climates, a diesel heater or a gasoline heater that's portable works better for me. And having a little fireplace, I mean, come on, it's pretty awesome.
This fireplace comes from the marine world and is actually designed for boats, but GP Factor came up with a kit to mount it inside of the Alucab. And while some of you may see this as a very unique system, it's actually quite common in these campers.
All right, there she is.
And after hours of work and several mistakes, the fireplace has been installed.
I went through and put in some flooring into this, which is just like a foam material. But what I did as well is I put insulation under that, because I know with this aluminum bed, that's gonna be something I struggle with in the future, is keeping this thing warm, because that fireplace is only 4,500 BTUs, but even if I'm using like a gasoline heater or something, I just don't want it to have to kick on too much.
I decided to use some of the shelves from 813 Fabrications versus having 2 MOLLE panels on my rear door. Another huge benefit of the Alucabs is not only are they modular, but there is aftermarket support for them. So you have a ton of options on how you can set these things up.
This is part of the Alucab fitment kit. So on a factory bed, you pull the tailgate off and you replace it with all of this so you can put the rear door on, and this helps seal it up. Well, I was the first person to do this, so they didn't really know if I was gonna need that kit or not. So what I did is I ordered the kit, of course, and they did end up needing some of that for anybody that in the future does something similar to this. I did need parts of the fit kit to make it work with the bow and bed. So now what I've done is I've actually cut this edge with my saw, and I cut a couple inches off of it. And so what I'm gonna do is this is gonna snug up right here and bring all this together. It's gonna be a nice looking panel. I'm gonna drill a few holes in it to where I can run some wiring. And then I'm going to put my inverter right there. And I'm gonna snake those wires through, repin it, plug it in, and I will have my inverter back. I think these panels are just turned out fantastic. They're gonna look really good right there. It's gonna make it look much more factory in here. Sure, I'm losing a little bit of space, but it gives me a metal mounting point for different things.
If I had to say that there's a downside to the Alucab, it's that all of these accessories are separate installations. So if you intend to self-install a lot of your accessories like I did, just be prepared for several weekends of extremely long days, especially for the wiring. For camera relocation, I have an entirely different video all about that. And then for the camper's Red Arc control system, I did a video on that as well. Links will be below.
I camped in it one night so far is all I've slept in this thing. And I forgot how hard the Alucab mattresses are. So the FJ still has its 10 on. It's still gonna be used. The truck's gonna get love for now, but the FJ is still gonna be used. So I didn't want to take the Hess mattress out of there, because there's gonna be times where I'm camping and Natalie is using one of the vehicles as well. Times that we let family use the FJ while we're using this, that sort of a thing. So what I have in here today is I have the Hess dually long. I'm going to put that inside of here. It should fit just like it did in the Gen 3, or actually it'll fit better, and it's gonna add so much comfort to this camper. Okay, so here is the interior of the Alucab Modcap. So as you can see, it's a little bit longer, 18 inches longer roughly than the tents are, for anybody that's actually wondering about that sort of a thing or considering the upgrade. But the thing is it doesn't have as much of a slope, just so you guys know.
Hest is another company that I paid full price for my original mattress, and now I'm working with these guys. These are seriously one of the best upgrades for a rooftop tent or a camper that you are going to spend your money on.
All right, so as you can see, it's a perfect fit. On the Alucab tent, this actually has to get tucked underneath a little bit, so we're actually getting the full width of this. It actually has even a little bit more room over here, which is very nice. We love that tent so much, but it's still nice to see something like this. Man, this feels almost even softer than our other one. Now it's outfitted. I'm gonna put my sheet on here real quick and throw some blankets up here, and then we're gonna move downstairs. Okay, so that's about as good as it's getting right now. I got a bunch of work to do on this weekend, so I'll go through and tidy this up a little bit. But I've got the down comforter on here. I've got the sheet on here, and I got Natalia's pillow, which is actually in a silk pillowcase. And I feel like these new sheets are softer than that. We'll see what she says. My hands are like sandpaper. I work on trucks for a living. So we'll see what she says about it. I wanted to add some seating to the inside of this because there are going to be plenty of times that we are rained out or snowed out or bugged out or whatever, and we want to be away from the elements. So for whenever I'm by myself, this is going to be great whenever Natalia's in here, because honestly, I'm always standing and doing stuff. It's rare that I sit down for long periods of time. I'm just that type. I'm always fidgeting with things and filming and doing stuff like that. So if we're both in here, then I can put that pad up as a backrest, and then on top of the fridge, I can have these two pads here. One of the best parts about the Alucab Modcap and Canopy Camper is, unlike some of the other ones that are out there, this one, whenever you're in here and you're ready to be inside, you just push your bed up out of the way. Okay, so here we have it. I have my backrest set up, and then I've got my two pads here. They're a little bit longer than the fridge, but that's good. I'd rather them be a little longer than a little shorter. The fridge is not a huge bench space, but it is enough room for me and Natalia to sit, and then we still got room for Blue here below us, or at our feet, and then she can have her dog bed in here, her little Hess bed. So we can have a little bit of space down here to where she can hang out if we do get into those situations where it's raining, it's cold, and we want to come in here and have a little fire or something. So other things I've done recently, and Natalia helped me with this, is we cut the zippers off of this one as well. The metal jingle jangles, they got to go. We need to cut a few more off. I just got more of the pulls in the mail. So on this particular setup, I got some off of Amazon that are just some cheaper. I think I still spent like 40 bucks on all the ones I needed, but I mean, I needed a bunch. There's like 8 on each of these windows, and on each of these upper windows, and then on the back window. And actually I'm seeing some right now that we still need to do, plus the back mosquito net and all that stuff. So it needed a lot of zipper pulls. So I had to go through and do that just because it's a small thing. I'm spending this time and effort into putting comforts inside of this thing. The last thing you want in your rooftop tent in your little camper are those things going off in the middle of the night whenever it's a little windy outside. It will drive you crazy. So even on the Alucab, we went through and did these zipper compartments for where you like charge your phone. I'm cutting those off too and putting other stuff on there just because it has the ability to make noise, and I don't want to hear that noise.
Most people with a factory bed go through and they do an interior build out for their Modcap camper. Because I have the Bowen bed, I found that with all of my organizational compartments, I didn't really need to do that. So to avoid the extra weight, at least for now, we're not going to do anything on the inside, and it keeps this all pretty simple. So this basically covers my Alucab build. I will do a review on the Alucab and some of the accessories in the future, but for now, I want to be able to use this into the colder months before I finish that up. If you have any questions about these new generation Alucab campers, drop it in the comments below. I'll have more build videos covering the lights and the armor coming soon. As always, thank you so much for watching, and click one of the videos in the corner to check out more of our adventure, off-road, and overland related content.